Hey, welcome to another edition of 10 Minutes with. This is the first time we've ever recorded an episode during the morning because I actually have coffee instead of beer sitting next to me. So if I, if when I make a mistake, I guess that was a mistake. When I make a mistake, it's because coffee. Hi, Kate.
Hi, DJ.
Thanks for showing up today.
You're welcome. Day drinking isn't on the agenda today.
Not today, only on the weekends.
Yeah.
So as you can see, we have a guest here as usual. Please welcome the host of the Yelling on the Bench YouTube channel, John Supi Supowitz. John, welcome to the show.
Thank you guys for having me. I very much appreciate it. This is great.
So let's jump right into it. So you run a YouTube channel again called Yelling from the Bench. Can you tell us a little bit about why, what the inspiration behind that idea was?
Well, for me last year, 2019 was a pretty big year. For me in the sports media world, I had started doing sports production with the Hartford Yard Goats and the Bridgeport Sound Tigers. I had started my writing job with the Score Crow at the time. Now we're Primetime Sports Talk and BroBible.com. And I had gotten back into radio. I'm a news anchor for a local AM station here in Connecticut. And I set the goal out was I don't do any videos. I love doing videos. I love being on camera. I'm a little egotistical like that. So I said, I want the world to see me. So I made the decision to start a YouTube channel because, it's 2020. That's how we work now. So I wanted to make more videos. I wanted to be seen more and just kind of expose myself in that sort of way.
You make an interesting point, especially about on radio. As a kid who grew up in the 80s and 90s, I listened to a lot of radio, and this was before internet was a thing that you could go to the radio's website. And you always had that kind of mystique of wonder what that guy or girl actually looks like. I hear their voice.
Yeah.
I heard their voice in the store. I'd recognize them, but they didn't say a thing. They were anonymous. Unless they went out and did live remotes somewhere, you'd never know it. It was just there's this whole mystique about radio that was, I think, pretty awesome and still is.
Yeah, I was a big radio fan growing up as a little kid. We had a local rock station here in Connecticut, Radio 104. And they would host concerts and promotional stuff. I'd go to all of them. And yeah, when you meet the guys that you see on the radio, you're like, oh, wow, that's it reminds you of if you've ever seen Wayne's World 2.
Yeah.
Exactly. If you've seen Wayne's World 2, that is exactly what the radio world is. When people tell you you have a face for radio, for the most part, it's not a stereotype if it's true. So,
and that's what. Hi, handsome Dan. I'm not handsome Dan.
At least you're not handsome, DJ.
My name's not Dan either.
I was trying.
Oh man, that's so great.
What did expect listening or seeing your show?
So used to podcasts. Sorry, you might need to repeat that, Kate.
Nope, I'm just going with it. What would someone expect when they watch your show?
What I like to do, I like to do the lighter side of sports. I like taking the more unusual stories and the more strange, and I like polarizing that stuff. My thought was going into when I wanted to make this show was, you could go to any channel. You go ESPN, Fox Sports, CBS. There's tons of podcasts, tons of shows covering the headlines in sports and analyzing the headlines in sports. And I never wanted to be just another talking head that kind of got drowned out by it. So I thought, well, let's do the stories that nobody's talking about. I want to talk about my first episode was I talked about John Daly requesting a golf cart for a tournament. And I mentioned John Daly a lot. To me, one of my things is I love John Daly more than I love Tiger Woods. Not because he's not a great golfer, but because he's such a great character, you know. So that's what this show is. It's taking the funnier stories in sports and making light of it. I love to have fun. I love to be funny, at least try to be funny. And it kind of, just have fun with the show. I think that, and especially like in 2020, I think we need that type of thing.
So when do you think the aliens are going to invade this year?
So from what I've heard, September 13th.
Okay, I'm going to mark that down on my calendar.
Good news is this episode will be out before then. So before we are enslaved or destroyed or both, we'll be able to see this episode.
So this is something I kind of thought about. I was thinking about I could become a pro wrestling writer, like a pro wrestling insider. And the way you could do it is you could go and make outrageous claims. Say this wrestler is going to beat this guy this week. And then if it doesn't happen, you could go back on and say, well, the writers changed it the last minute, so that's why that didn't happen. So I can easily tell you that it's going to be on that day. And then if it doesn't, I'll just come and tell you, like, well, they decided to change it up last minute. So now we'll see. They're kind of keeping hush about that one.
That's, and you mentioned that. That's such a fascinating topic to me of the concept of pro wrestling. And you hear all these stories over the years of these wrestlers that are like, I'm not losing this. And these matches don't happen because they can't, figure out who's going to lose here. And it's amazing to me.
All fake?
Oh, did I ruin that for you? I'm sorry.
Are you going to talk about?
They don't like the word fake. They like predetermined. Predetermined.
Okay.
That reminds me, again, digging back to my youth, since we've mentioned this once already, there was an episode of the cartoon Garfield. And I think it was Garfield. Yeah, it was Garfield. And John goes to a pro wrestling match. And, they're in the front row. And Garfield's just kind of like, this is so dumb. I hope it's Garfield because I'm going to look really stupid if it wasn't. But there was this cartoon. I'm fairly confident it was Garfield. And you see the wrestlers in the ring and they're like, but you can very clearly the punches aren't coming anywhere to their face. And everybody's out like, yeah, beat him up. And somebody says like, this is so fake. And like John is getting really angry as this keeps getting in. He goes, it's not fake. And he screams out fake. And then everybody like turns and looks at him. And then the wrestlers come out and beat him up. Like for real, beat him up.
I mean, that's every 10-year-old too. I mean, every 10-year-old swore that wrestling wasn't fake. And thank you, internet, to want to realize that, again, it's predetermined. But for me, it doesn't make me hate it anymore. I still probably
and regardless, everything. I mean, it's still like it takes an incredible amount of talent to pull off what they do. I mean,
exactly.
It's like they're not trying to shit on the sport of wrestling. I mean, it's incredibly difficult. They're very talented, and obviously, being able to work the audience and on that's a whole nother skill set on top of that. And there's a reason why it's maintained its popularity as long as it has.
It really, yeah, exactly. I watched it growing up as a little kid, and then I kind of grew out of it for a while, and then about 5-6 years ago, I started to get back into it, and now I personally think it's at its peak since maybe the early 2000s. When you had the Monday Night Wars with WCW and WWE. I think right now, yeah, I think right now it's getting to that level again. I mean, there's some great superstars, great new promotions coming out. So I think it's actually doing just as well as it did back then.
Oh, my episode bingo card. I didn't have talking pro wrestling on there today.
Trust me, I could do this for like another hour. I can always talk pro wrestling.
And then actually, real quick to try to spin us back on topic again, you have I would say a unique a way of running your shows. Your shows are all like less than 5 minutes. They're very brief. Like what was your your reasoning behind that?
A lot of it for me was time. One thing I didn't have a lot of time making the episodes. I work a lot during the day, so like this is my little project that I like to do at home. So I only have maybe a couple of hours to write it. But also I think too was, the first couple of episodes that I have done, because I'm actually looking back at all the episodes I've done for like a little project that I'm working on that were 5 minutes, and I didn't feel like it captured the audience's tensions as long as it could. So I felt like let's do briefer episodes. Let's make them quick, and let's have fun with it, especially too because call spade a spade, people's attention spans are so minute now. If you look at a video on TikTok, you look at these videos on TikTok now that are less than a minute, but I'll like scroll through TikTok a little bit, and I'm like, this is going a little long. How long has this been going? 30 seconds? Yeah, this is a little long for me. Next one. It really is. Like I'm the biggest proponent of it. I really I kind of lose sight of myself sometimes. So that was the kind of the reason why I wanted to make them quick and just throw in short sentences, punchlines, and kind of try to keep the viewer engaged as much as possible.
I mean, it's the same logic behind this 10-minute series. Just, people's attention spans start to veer, so we try to be quick. But, I mean, we suck so bad at following the clock.
Yeah, we already did.
My own brother texted me the other day after I released, we've released a couple 20-minute episodes in a row, and he just texted me, still having a problem with 10 minutes? Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't see that change.
But I always see too, though, like if it's a good 20 minutes, it's better than a boring 10 minutes.
Right.
So, but like for me, it just, I kind of like keeping it to one subject. A lot of my episodes lately have been under about around 2.5 minutes, keeping that one subject, rather than the previous episodes were like 5 minutes of me doing 3 different subjects. Also, again, because of my time constraints, I'll record 3 different topics, and then let's say, maybe I could put out 3 different episodes throughout the week rather than just once every week. I really don't do a schedule when it comes to doing this show. I try to do it I like to do it at least once a week, but that doesn't always happen. So that's another thing too, is I can record a bunch of different stuff and have things in the bed, and I can kind of dole them out, every week or so.
Repurposing content.
That's
what they tell you. That's like getting traffic back to your site and your YouTube page. Repurpose it, split it up.
Exactly.
That's the way to do it. I think you may have actually answered question number 3 already, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Share a piece of advice you've learned since you've started this venture.
I think the persistence, I think, is best. You need to set yourself a schedule. I started doing it, and I love the momentum I have. I started this in the beginning of last summer, because when I went on to Bro Bible, I started doing all the sports betting and fantasy football articles for them. I basically was like the guy writing that stuff. So with just all that time, I kind of stopped doing the episodes, and I lost momentum on it. And when the season was over, I said to myself, I got to get back into it. And so since I feel like I've started to do an episode every week, especially since the beginning of the pandemic, it had been a little easier actually for me to do it. I felt like the show's been getting stronger and stronger. So definitely the best piece of advice is consistency. Put something out every week, every few days. It keeps your momentum going. It keeps the flow going, and then it'll actually you know, as you kind of know in this type of industry, the more reps you get, the more comfortable you get on camera, and again, you're going to see your improvement week by week.
So where can our listeners find you?
Sorry, I think I had a little bad connection.
Oh, it's okay. Where can our listeners find you?
Okay. You guys can find me on my Twitter at I'm that Supi, IMTHATSUPI on Twitter and Instagram, and search The Score Crow on YouTube to find all the episodes of Yelling from the Bench.
Perfect. And we're going to have links to your social media and channels in the description of this video and our podcast. So they are right there for you to click.
Great.
So, John, again, thank you for being on the show today. The show is Yelling from the Bench, as featured on YouTube through The Score Crow. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Great. And for everybody else, thanks for watching and listening. Give us check us out at stadiumscene.tv. Join the network. Give us a follow on Facebook, Pinterest, and Twitter at Stadium Scene and Stadium_Scene on Instagram. And we'll see you next time.